Yo, that's the fight game, huh? That was some brutal trash talking. Yo, what Colby said to Leon Edwards, that was one of the most brutal things I've ever heard an MMA fighter say to somebody. For people that don't know what Colby said, he said that he's gonna drag Leon Edwards into a place he never wants to be, the 7 stages of hell, and he said he'll meet his father there. That is crazy. For people that don't know, Leon Edwards did talk about what happened to his father. He passed away because of an assault, we'll just say, in London. And it had something to do with money or something like that. Wow, that is crazy. You know, whether we agree with it or not, he can say stuff like that, and it obviously affected Leon Edwards. Leon threw the bottle at him. He was shaking a bit. He wants to see that same kind of energy backstage and stuff. So Leon Edwards has to keep things intact, you know, regardless of what someone is going to say to him. Because with that kind of reaction we just saw from Leon, I wonder, when he finally can get his hands on Colby Covington, is he going to get too aggressive and expose himself to takedowns now, or expose himself to like some big shot on the feet? Colby's not going to be affected at all, right? It's just Leon Edwards. Well, him and Tony Ferguson and even Paddy Pimblett, those three brought all the energy into that press conference. And the thing about Tony and Paddy was they were going back and forth with each other. It was actually pretty entertaining there. But then for Leon, he really didn't say much to Colby. And he allowed Colby to really take over that press conference and get away with the kind of stuff that he said. And that kind of reaction from Leon is exactly what Colby wants to see out of him. For me personally, I don't like trash talking like that. It's allowed, you can do it, it's part of the fight game. At the end of the day, they're gonna punch each other in the face. You know, what are words compared to that, right? They're gonna try to knock each other out. Yeah, words are words at the end of the day, but it was very distasteful. And it does show that Colby will go cross boundaries, step over the line to get into his opponent's head. And looking at Leon, it definitely looked like he got into his head. Deep too. So in Colby's end, he's probably happy with the results of that because it could make it potentially easier. But then there is a situation where Leon could be a lot more dangerous in the fight. So Colby's gonna have to watch out from that aspect as well. But we do have to remember that Colby did say something quite similar to Usman, talking about Usman's dad in prison and his coach that passed away and stuff. Usman did not look nearly as bothered by it as Leon did, but talking about your opponent's father hits a bit different. But we do know that Colby will go at that direction. He just went further past the line with Leon. Colby was also going after Tony about that whole episode he had a few years ago, you know, with his kids and stuff. You could have missed it because Tony was talking over him, but Colby was saying that Tony sees ghosts in the walls, and he was getting into that mental breakdown that Tony had a few years ago. He will definitely take his trash talking as far as it can go. I expected Colby to do the whole America versus England thing, you know, make it a bit fun for the fans in that aspect, to bring the Americans on his side and the English on Leon's side and stuff like that. Has some fun jokes here and there, you know, go after Wonder Boy, go after maybe Shavkat, maybe he says something about Paddy Pimblett, Ian Gary, of course, he would have to bring up. This is going to be very interesting now. The whole mental aspect of this fight could have impacted the result of it. So Colby and Tony, specifically, the two Americans, came into the press conference with a lot of energy. Paddy and Leon responded with a bit of energy, more so Paddy Pimblett. Leon had that one outburst, but Paddy Pimblett was going back and forth with Tony, and they brought the whole 1776 theme into it. Colby Covington coming out with an hilariously looking George Washington costume, calling them red coats and stuff like that. That's exactly what I expected from Colby, and he delivered. He delivered on that end, not talking about like the brutal stuff he brought up, but just on that aspect, that was pretty fun. And then Colby and Tony went after each other, a lot of trash talk between them two, and then they became buddy-buddy in the middle of it, then said that they want to root for each other and all that stuff. It was hilarious how that happened. Tony he's seeing a lot of red right now, man. I haven't seen this kind of animated Tony Ferguson ever since he got matched up with Habib. Looks like training with David Goggins brought out like some kind of hungry beast out of Tony Ferguson. Maybe this was the right move for him mentally. He's going to bring the elbow blades out on Paddy Pimblett, brutalize him in the fight. That fight is looking a lot more exciting because of this press conference. Paddy's been kind of respectful and not as loud in the interviews this week, but this is what we want to see out of Paddy Pimblett. And I wonder if he's going to be able to go fire with Tony Ferguson. Or should I say, is Tony ready as well at his older age? And while all this craziness is going on stage, you have Shavkat, Wonderboy, Pantoja, and Royval kind of just watching the show with all of us. And Colby went after Wonderboy too. That was interesting. I've never seen a fighter trying to trash talk Wonderboy at that level, but every welterweight is a target for Colby Covington, regardless of how nice they are. And that bit about the bus with no windows and stuff is kind of funny. And Wonderboy responded very wholesomely, like, yo, you're just kind of mad you weren't invited on the bus. If I sent my students on you, man, you couldn't handle them. Wonderboy's awesome. He was a good sport and everything. Didn't deviate from his usual kindness, and Colby just constantly bringing the same energy. But nobody talked about Shavkat, right? There's not really too much to say about Shavkat. He was so quiet up there, he didn't really get asked too many questions. Shavkat's a scary fighter, man. And then to top it all off, Ian Gary was mentioned, as we thought, and it was Colby Covington. The first thing Colby goes and says is about how many people in the audience slept with the wife, and then saying that's going to be a problem because that's too many names to put on the outfit. So that was an entertaining press conference. Things may have gone a bit too far with Colby's one comment up there, but it is the fight game. Fighters say crazy stuff to each other. I mean, the Conor Khabib back and forth was super dark, and it's all allowed. You're allowed to say whatever you want to your opponent. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to punch each other in the face. What are words in comparison? And again, I'm very curious to see what kind of energy Leon, Tony, and Paddy are going to have for their fights. Specifically, Leon Edwards. If he's not in the right space of mind, he could get some kind of crazy, aggressive knockout, or he exposes himself way too much and Colby capitalizes. So it could be an example of, getting into someone's head may not be the best thing you want to do. Leon shows a great performance in that. Kind of similar with Cody Garbrandt and Dominic Cruz, right? Some opponents react a bit differently. Or if Leon loses and say dominantly, this could go down as like a big mental victory in MMA. So leave the comments below. What did you guys think about the press conference? Do you think Colby went a bit too far? What was your favorite part of the whole thing? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh my gosh, we got Sean Strickland tomorrow.